Now to the escalating conflict and widespread protests in Iran. President Trump says help is on the way, and he's encouraging Iranians to keep challenging the regime. Here's what he said earlier today.
To all Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused.
Human rights organization says the death toll is dramatically rising, with at least 2,000 people killed and more than 10,000 arrests. The anti-government protests have grown into some of the biggest in Iran's history, and amid the country's plummeting currency, skyrocketing cost of living. An advisor to Iran's supreme leader put out a statement today declaring President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as, quote, the main killers of the people of Iran. ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Sufi-Burridge following the latest for us here. Tom, I know you've been speaking with Iranians living outside of Iran, as well as one man who just left Tehran. So what are you learning about the protests, the regime's crackdown, as you're having these conversations?
Yeah, I think it's really important to stress it's very, very hard to read exactly what is happening in Iran. Therefore, we are dependent to a certain extent on people who are outside of Iran, who've got friends and family in the country and have been speaking to them. And also, I spoke to that man, as you say, Elizabeth, who has just come back to Paris from Tehran. He was visiting families in the Iranian capital, and he was there for 2 weeks during the protests. I mean, he said, look, absolutely vast crowds on the street. He said, you know, it was a real cross-section of society. So families were going out at the beginning of the protests, people of all classes, people of all genders, all regions, right across the country. So he said it was pretty incredible. He said there was a kind of electric atmosphere on the streets in the evening. He wasn't participating in the protest because he said he felt it was too risky to him and his family. Therefore, he was going back to his home once the protest began, but he said he could hear a lot of shooting once he was back at his family apartment. And he says there's no doubt about it. For him, that was the security services cracking down. And he says once the crackdown began on sort of night 2, 3, of the protests, or later on, once it sort of got into January, he says that, he did notice that some of his acquaintances, people who were going out to protest, particularly families, were just stopping. And he says that there has been a decrease in the number of people going out to the protests, but it's unclear where this goes next.
And as you say, Tom, hard to get a clear picture about what's going on there. We know there is this communications blackout. How are videos getting out of Iran, and is the U.S. able to have any impact on people's access to the internet there?
Yeah, all the Iranians we spoke to say that Starlink terminals in Iran, we don't know how many there are, but that there's enough that people are using them to get videos out. Now, experts we spoke to about this say that the US and Elon Musk company have the ability to actually make Starlink satellites more accessible for Iranians, actually directly via their cell phones. And one expert said that actually he reckons that about 20% of Iranians could actually get access to the internet via that option if the US and Elon Musk were effectively to switch that on. Now, that is one thing that they are hoping the US might move on. And look, there's no doubt the crackdown is having an impact. We're seeing evidence that there's more arrests, and also that potentially some people have been arrested, could be executed. The regime we know has a track record of executing people without trial after enforcing confessions from people.
We've got to keep following this on. Tom Sufi-Burridge, thanks so much.